that's a 60, that's not a 67, that's a 427. That thing gets up and goes. Anyway, choir, you must be freezing to death. Well, I tell you what, man, you ought to huddle in the bus or something. Folks, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here. It's, what time is it now? 7 o'clock at night, cold as the devil, and you're here. And I thank you very, very much. Detroit, there's no better, no more appropriate place to hold a drive-in rally than in Motor City, USA. I want to thank Everett. I want to thank Everett for sharing his story with us and for the unfailing dedication that you and so many of your proud union educators, we owe you. We owe you big for the students and families you take care of during these difficult times. I'm married. I'm Jill Biden's husband. She's an educator. So that's what teaching is. It's just not what she does. It's who she is. So Everett, thank you. And folks, look, I also want to thank the incredible leaders who are here today. My good friend, Mayor Duggan. And Mayor Duggan and I spent an awful lot of time together trying to get Detroit back. He got it back on the upside, but I was here when trying to get all the help he could possibly get to get it done. When, as vice president, fighting to support this city, invest in the revitalization and the future of Detroit. Because I've always believed in Detroit, and I'm just saying that. My dad was an automobile man. That's what got me through school. That's what everything was about. And I've always believed in Michigan. We have the finest auto workers in the world here in Michigan. That's not hyperbole, that's a fact. And I want to thank you, Chairwoman Barnes. Thank you very, very much. And Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, you've been a good friend. And Governor Whitmer, you've been an incredible leader, tested. She's been tested and proven under crisis conditions and extraordinary circumstances. Your leadership through this pandemic has saved countless lives of Michiganders here, Gov. That's a fact. And you've shown the whole nation just how tough you are. Michigan tough. And I'm proud to call you a friend. And Senator Debbie Stabenow and Gary Peters, thank you for fighting for the people of Michigan who need help now, but aren't getting it because the Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, cares more about shoving through a Supreme Court nomination to take away your health care than he does helping the hurting people in this city, this state, and this country. We can't forget that winning in November doesn't just mean defeating Donald Trump. It means winning back the United States Senate and expanding our majority in the House of Representatives. That's why we need to send Gary back to Washington, D.C. I really mean it. We need him. This is a guy who knows what he believes and says what he believes and does what he believes. And alongside Debbie Stabenow for the people of Michigan, but not quite frankly for the whole country. Folks, as my coach used to say, it's go time. This is the most important election of our lifetimes. And you can make all the difference here in Michigan. The choice is as clear as ever, and the stakes are higher than ever. The stakes are, in this election, remind me of something my dad used to say. He said, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about your place in your community. It's being able to look your child in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. Well, that's a lesson I've never forgotten. That's what I grew up surrounded by, hardworking families in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Claymont, Delaware. How many people today, though, can look their kids in the eye and say, everything's going to be all right, and mean it? These times are hard. Unemployment is way up due to the pandemic. Just this week, over 1,200,000 more people file for unemployment. The economic outlook for next year remains uncertain. And across Michigan and the country, folks are worried about making their next rent payment or their mortgage payment or their car payment. They're worried whether or not they can purchase the prescription drug they need or put food on the table, have to make a choice. Worried about sending their kids to school, worried about not sending their kids to school. They see the people at the top doing a hell of a lot better while the rest of us are left to wonder, who's looking out for me? That's Donald Trump's presidency. More than 215,000, I think it's now 217,000 dead Americans because of COVID-19. And experts say we'll lose nearly 200,000 more lives in the next few months. All because this president cares more about his Park Avenue perspective on the world and the stock market than he does about you. Because he refuses to follow the science. It's estimated if we just wore these masks, between now and the end of the year, we'd save 100,000 lives. Folks, you know what's really sad about all this? The president knew. He knew back in January how dangerous this virus was. And he hid it from the American people. He told the journalist Bob Woodward in a taped interview that the disease was deadly in January, deadly, and far worse than the flu, and airborne. But here's what he did, according to the New York Times today. His administration gave Wall Street investors a heads up about it. Didn't tell us, but gave Wall Street investors a head up. But the American people, he said nothing. That's why they made so much money by, quote, selling short. They knew what was coming, but what happened to the rest of us? He told Bob Woodward he didn't want to panic the American people. We don't panic. He panicked. And his reckless personal conduct since his diagnosis has been unconscionable. The longer Donald Trump is president, the more reckless he gets. Dr. Fauci, the leading expert in the country, referred to the president's announcement on the Supreme Court in the Rose Garden as, quote, a super spreader event, causing so many people to get COVID. And how did Trump respond? He responded by running a national ad, taking Dr. Fauci's words out of context. Dr. Fauci said way back in March, a quote, "I can't imagine that anybody could be doing more," referring to the public health officials. Yet Trump took that quote out of context and put it in a campaign ad, deliberately lying, making it sound like Dr. Fauci was talking about him. Even after Fauci asked him to take the ad down, Trump's campaign said they continued to use the ad, knowing it was a lie. That behavior is no surprise. After all, this is the same man who looks at Americans who put their lives on the line, like my son, put their lives on the line to save our nation, calls them losers and suckers. My son Bo spent a year in Iraq, won the Bronze Star, the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was no sucker, and the people he left behind were heroes. And now, as a consequence of this overwhelming lying, misleading, and irresponsible action on the part of Donald Trump, how many empty chairs are there going to be around the dining room table tonight because of his negligence? Folks, we're so much better than this as a country. Despite the crisis we face, we have an enormous opportunity to build back better. The American people have had the blinders taken off. To replace Donald Trump's incentives for companies to ship jobs overseas with real policies and tax credits to revitalize American manufacturing. To make it in America, make it in Michigan, buy American. Look, we're going to do everything to give everyone a fair return on their work, an equal chance to get ahead. For example, in communities of color here in Detroit and all across the country, the question is, how do we break the cycle where in good times you lag behind, in bad times you're the first hit and hit the hardest, and in recovery you're the last ones to bounce back? The answer is about justice, criminal justice, police reform. This nation is strong enough to both honestly face systemic racism and strong enough to provide safe streets for our families and small businesses that too often bear the brunt of looting and burning. We have no need for armed militias roaming America's streets. And we should have no tolerance for extremist white supremacist groups menacing our community. These guys are hatching violent and deranged schemes like the one against Governor Whitmer that the FBI and local law enforcement uncovered and stopped last week. But make no mistake, that was a planned act of terrorism, a plot. Think of this, a plot in the United States of America to blow up a bridge on American soil, to threaten the lives of police officers, to kidnap an American leader. Is the sort of behavior you might expect from ISIS, and should shock the conscience of every American to see that sort of twisted thinking take root here in America. But all Trump does, is fan the flames of hatred and division in this country. Telling the Proud Boys in the debate with me, when I said, will you condemn them, he said, I'll tell them to stand back and stand by. What the hell's the matter with this guy? Attacking Governor Whitmer on the same day this plot was exposed is despicable. And by the same measure, if you say we have no need to face racial injustice in this country, you haven't opened your eyes to the truth of America today. There have been powerful voices for justice in recent weeks and months. George Floyd's 6-year-old daughter, who I met with, and when I met the family, Gina, I knelt down to say hi to her, and she said, looked at me and said, Daddy changed the world. Jacob Blake's mother, another one, when I met with her, said, violence doesn't reflect who her son is, and the nation needs healing, and said she's praying for the police officers. Or Doc Rivers, the basketball coach, choking back tears when he said, quote, we're the ones getting killed. We're the ones getting shot. We've been hung. It's amazing why we keep loving this country and this country doesn't love us back. Think about that. Think about what it takes to be a black person to love America today. That is a deep love of this country that is far too long has not been fully recognized. What we need in America's leadership to seek to de-escalate tensions, to open the lines of communications, to bring us back together again, to heal, to hope. As president, that's precisely what I'll do. But true justice is also about jobs, good-paying jobs, financial stability, families of color building wealth, passing it down. That's how you deliver equality and equity. Another example, more and more women are dropping out of the workplace because of the recession. We're in a city or out in the suburbs. I have a plan to deal with the pandemic responsibly. New testing, tracing, masking, not politicizing the race for vaccine, planning for safe and equitable distribution, providing PPE and other resources for schools to reopen safely, ease the caregiving crisis that so many families are experiencing, squeezed between raising your kid and caring for your aged loved ones, and protect your health care. In the middle of this pandemic, why do the Republicans have the time, as I said, to hold a hearing on the Supreme Court instead of addressing the significant economic needs of local communities? I'll tell you why. It's about wiping out Obamacare, wiping it off the books, because their nominee has said in the past that the law should be struck down. It's going to take away health care coverage for 20 million Americans. They'll also take away protections for pre-existing conditions that more than 100 million people in America have. Complications from COVID-19 will also add to that. Lung scarring, heart damage could well become the next pre-existing condition. That will toss out the rule that allows children to be covered on their parents' health insurance till age 26. Will take us backwards to when insurance companies could charge a woman more for health care than a man just because she's a woman. Folks, we can do so much better. Together, I'll build on the Affordable Care Act, where you can choose to keep your private insurance as well as offer Medicaid-like public option, which will give private insurers real competition. We're going to increase subsidies so your premiums are lower. You can afford to plan with lower deductibles, lower out-of-pocket spending. Folks, we can only do this if we come together as a country. Abraham Lincoln told us that a house divided cannot stand. Today, trust is ebbing. Hope seems elusive. And instead of healing, We're being ripped apart. I refuse to let that happen. We need to revive a spirit of bipartisanship in this country, a spirit of being able to work with one another. When I say that I'm told that used to be the way Joe used to get a lot of things done, but things have changed. Well, I'm here to tell you it can happen again. And it must, if there's anything going to get anything done. I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I will govern as an American president. I work with Democrats and Republicans. That's why so many Republican leaders have endorsed me. They know I've done it and will do it again. For those who don't support me, as well as those who do. Folks, that's the job of a president. The duty to care, the duty to heal. And you, too, have a sacred duty. As my friend John Lewis used to say, vote. It matters. Michigan matters. You elected me and Barack Obama in 2008 and 12, and you bet on us when we bet on you, and bet on American workers. We bet on the UAW. I'm asking for your trust and support in 2020 for Kamala and me. We'll always have your back, I promise you. So please, vote. Help us get out the vote. Go to iwillvote.com/MI. In Detroit, more than 20 years. Look, you have now 20 early voting centers. They're open now all across the city. Open 7 days a week on Election Day. It's a one-stop shop. You can go get registered and vote right then and there. So don't wait. Vote today. Tell everyone you know, everyone you meet, vote, vote, vote. And no matter what, don't let anybody discourage you or tell you your vote won't count, because it does. You, the American people, are going to decide the future of this country. Vote. It's time to restore America's soul. It's time to rebuild the backbone of this country, the middle class, and unions built the middle class, no matter what your race, or gender. Folks, look, it's time to unite America. It really is. I'll never forget what President Kennedy said about going to the moon. My colleagues in the Senate used to kid me about raising it when I bring it up in a caucus. He answered the question that was on everybody's lips, but nobody asked. Why are we doing this? He said, we're doing it because we refuse to postpone. I refuse to postpone any longer the work America must do. There's nothing beyond our capacity. There's no limit to America's future. The only thing that can tear America apart is America itself. Look, everybody knows who Donald Trump is. Let's show them who we are. We choose hope over fear, unity over division, science over fiction, and yes, truth over lies. It's time to stand up, take back our country. God bless you all, and may God